Hi there. So this week I decided to take it back to basics, and once in a while I get a question on pricing items for sale and how I go about um, fixing my prices so that they reflect a value that I'll get in return. And so I thought I would discuss that this week, and if it helps you, I hope so. And if not, at least I hope you find it entertaining if you like math. Believe me, it's not very complicated. It may look complicated, but it really isn't, and I'll show you in the end. It's just a simple formula, and I'll tell you right up front what the formula is. I use the cost of the item plus the number of hours that I put in to work on it. I add that together, and then I use a figure, 15% or 20%. 15% if I'm doing a refinishing or art piece, and then I'll use 20% if I'm doing a restoration. So because restoration products are a little bit more expensive. So for example, if a piece cost me $100 to buy and work on, that would be $115 to do a refinishing. If I had a piece of furniture that I paid $40 for, plus $60 worth of work is $100. So $100 times 0.15 for 15% equals 15, plus the 100 equals 115. I'm going to show you a better way to do that. If I want to know how much is it to do $100 of work plus the cost of the item and get 15% more, I would do times 1, which is the $100, 0.15 equals $115. So I can do that with a complicated figure. I mean complicated, not just ones and zeros. Let's say it cost me $350 to do the work and to pay for the cost of the item. If I want to charge for materials, I would take that number, 350, and I would do it times 1, which is the 350, 0.15, which is the extra 15%, equals $402.50. Today I'm sharing my computer screen with you to go over how I price my items for sale. Every once in a while I get this question of, how do I manage putting pricing on refinished furniture or even restoration? So right here I have a computer screen, and I'm going to break it down. I'm going to start from the beginning, but this is what it ends up looking like. There's 2 different pages here in an Excel spreadsheet, and you can see that they look somewhat similar. One is a materials breakdown budget sheet. The other is a percentage of hours. So I'm going to show you why I changed to doing a percentage of my hourly wage to get the pricing for materials, and I'll show you how I do that. And not that it's the best way, but it's another way. You might find it helpful. If you hate math, you can use a calculator, and I'll show you that on the calculator as well. We'll do it, long form in a way. And if you're familiar with Excel spreadsheets, I'll show you at least what I'm doing, and that way you'll know. But we'll also do it with a calculator. So let's get started. So let's start down at the bottom. I have 2 spreadsheets. I'm going to just change it a little bit like this so you can see the bottom for a minute. The spreadsheets are exactly the same. They have the same numbers on them. They might look a little different because I set the columns a little bit differently, so I apologize for that, but it's the same information. One tab is materials breakdown, and the other tab is percentage of hours. So let's start with materials breakdown, and what I have is a spreadsheet that says budget for work. The item that I'm going to price, I'm going to go back up here for a minute so you can see it's square. The item that I'm considering pricing is a dresser that cost me $40. I'm saying that it took me 8 hours. I think I'll say that my price per hour, it's not, but let's say that my price per hour is $40 an hour. And I'll just put that up there so we can see it as a reminder. My materials were paint, sandpaper, brushes, primer, top coat, wax, a transfer, some gilding wax, and some repairs. And I'm just throwing those out there as if, I mean, basically, that's what we hope for. Something that's not too complicated. And hopefully everything goes smoothly and nothing breaks in the meantime. And we don't have to go out and buy new tools. I consider the use of a brush to be about $2. And you may not even consider it that much. I keep my brushes forever. And truth be told, I put it down there so you can see it, but I don't actually usually put down a paintbrush. It's an item that is kind of leveraged over time, and although you do have to replace them once in a while, and you should figure it in. You should be accounting for it for sure. But I'm just being honest and saying that I don't usually. However, I do consider all the other things that I have to keep rebuying. And when I say repairs down here, I'm kind of considering even cleaning products, because those have to be replaced as well. Maybe not so often, but you're always buying Dawn dish liquid, you're buying a TSP product, any kind of a stripper, a putty, and all those things that cost money. And on a good day, it probably wouldn't be more than $15 worth of materials to do that. Some days are going to be worse than others. Some days you're going to be buying veneer, and you have to consider that separately and always charge for what it costs you, because you want to recoup all your investment, or we hope. So I'm saying just on average that the paint I have is $32 for a can. I usually do pay less than that for my materials, but sometimes I might pay that much. So that would be a worst case scenario. And I have see this little red check mark there? That just means that there's a note in there. And I put in on the note that I used half a can of paint. $10 worth of sandpaper, and I used $1. I basically just did a little scuff sand on this. This is just a pretend imaginary piece of furniture. So I considered that I used $2 worth of sandpaper. I charged $2 for my brush replacement. A can of primer was $18, and I used a third of a can, which is about $4.50. A top coat, $18. This is always going to vary, depends on what you use, from Minwax to general finishes to tongue oils and things that cost much more money, or things that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. But you've bought all these products before. And I said that I used a third of a can of top coat, so that was $6. A little bit of wax, $18 for a can. I charged $3 for that. A transfer, and I decided that I would use one sheet out of it, which is about $33 to $35. So I charged $11 for that one sheet of transfer. Gilding wax, $15 for a little tube or a jar, and I used about $3 worth. And again, the repairs were $15. I am going to go over here on percentage of hours just to show you that it was the same monies for that. So let's go back to the first sheet, because we're going to work here first. We're going to work as if I use these figures exactly. So let's go ahead and take the $40 and put it over here, because that was what the item cost, and I'm just going to enter it. And here's my 8 hours, and I'm charging $40 an hour. I say I'm charging $40 an hour. So let's go ahead and come down and get a subtotal. Auto sum, but we can also use the calculator and do it by hand. 40 plus 16 plus 2 plus 2 plus 4, 50 plus 6 plus 3 plus 11 plus 3 plus 15. Hopefully that's correct. 102.50. 102.50 in materials and the cost of the item. And that was our total. Now down here I am going to say, I'm going to put a little equation in here. It's equal sum in parentheses, open parentheses, and we have, let's see, 8 is under C for, don't be scared if this bothers you. And you're going to do times 40 and close it. Okay, that's going to come to $320. I'm going to pick up the calculator because I'm going to show you the easy way to do that. So let's clear this, but we remember that it's $102.50. We have $40 an hour times 8 equals $320. That would be the cost of our hourly rate. Now, these two together, this is pretty simple, right? I'm just going to highlight those. I'm going to go up and choose the, so that you can see my mouse. I'm sorry, I don't think you could see that. Auto sum, 422.50, and then let's do it in the calculator as well. So 320 plus 102.5 is 422.5. So this, let's highlight that. This is our sum. Now, let's say we didn't want to make figures on how much this is going to cost. Let's say we want to do it the lazy way. Well, after doing this breakdown for years, and or at least for months, I decided to start looking at that because it was always somewhat similar. Now, you do have to account for something like this transfer. Let's say you use the entire transfer. I would actually not consider that price. I would do the rest of my figuring and then add that total $35 in the end if I was doing the percentage. And right now I'm going to show you why. Namely because you always want to account for what you're spending. So let's do it this way with just a percentage of hours. So I worked 8 hours, and let's even do it just on the calculator, and hopefully you can see that. I'm going to say I worked 8 hours times 40, and that was 320. So let's put that right here, 320. Let's add in the $40 because I didn't do that. $40 for the chest here. I'm just going to get a dollar sign. And then, so 320 plus 40 is 360, right? You can double check me here. And 360, I'm going to consider that I'm going to use 15%. So to get 15% of $360 right there, I'm going to take 360 and I'm going to do times 0.15, which is how you would calculate percentage. And forgive me if I'm being kind of pedantic here. That's $54. So plus 360 is 414. Now you could also say 360 times 1, which means $360, 0.15, which is the 15%, and you'll get $414. So let's see, I have $414 here, and let's go back to the materials breakdown. Right here in the materials breakdown, I actually got $422.50. I round up. So if I get 422 or 414, let's put a dollar sign there. Let's highlight that. And let's round up and call it $450. And let's go back to where I broke down the materials. I'm also going to change this to $450. So you see how close that is? I discovered that because I wanted to see what the percentage was and see if it was at all consistent, and it actually was. What I discovered is that when I'm doing a simple refinish, which can be an artistic finish, so it can take me any number of hours. It almost doesn't matter. I charge 15% usually, unless I use an entire transfer, which is actually unusual for me. I don't usually do my design like that, but you might. So you're going to have to consider that and charge up for it. But even if you did, I think you would still, let's see, let's change this to 35, and it would go up to $446.50. So if you round up $50, you'll still be covered. You're not losing any money. So I just wanted to show you that. Now, if I do restoration, I charge 20% on top for materials under my hours. And then anything that is extra, like a set of hardware, that's all separate. It's all added in separately. So my basic materials, my cleaning products, my finishes, my treatments, oxalic acid, all those kind of things are under that 20%, because I find that restoration products just cost more money in general, and I don't want to lose money when I do restoration. So yeah, basically it's I probably made it sound complicated, but I didn't mean to. Basically all I did was I'll try to go over here and see if I can type the number of hours, the cost of the item, and refinishing or redesigning is 15% on the total, or on the subtotal. Let's call it the subtotal. It's very simple. Restoration would be 20% on the subtotal. It doesn't include additional hardware, such as casters, drawer pulls, etc. So leave me your thoughts. Let me know what you think of that. Give it a try. Let me know how I can make that more clear. And tell me if that was just a bunch of horse do, and whether you thought that would help you at all, or whether you think it was at least interesting. And yeah, leave a comment and let me know what you think. But I think that's kind of cool that you can do it either way and come out very, very close. At least me. Now you have to decide how that works for you. In other words, you have to decide what your percentage is. So whatever you're doing, however you're managing replacement of all your materials and what it costs you to do a piece, find out what that is. So let's do one more thing. Okay, so let's see how I got that figure. And let's add these up separately again and see what happens. So it's what, 16 plus 2 plus 2 plus 4.5 plus 6 plus 3 plus 11 plus 3 plus 15 equals 62.50. Now let's put that right here. 62.50. Okay, and the item was $40. I'm just showing you where I'm finding it, right here. And let's see. The hours was 8 hours times 40, which is 320. Let's consider that we figured that out. 8 hours times 40 is $320. Okay, so here's the cost of the item, and here is the cost of my hours. Let's subtotal these. I am going up to the auto sum. See my mouse right there? Auto sum is $360. We could also get that here on the calculator, of course. We could do the item plus the 320. Okay, and that added up to 360. So what I want to do is I want to find out what this actual number, here's the actual number of what I thought that I spent. I'm just going to highlight that so we can remember. So it literally cost us $62.50. The item cost $40, and we put in $320 worth of labor. Now, if I want to see what is this $62.50, how could I figure out what the percentage is of that, of the cost of the item and the number of hours, which is $360? So what I'm going to do is, and you probably know this already, so forgive me. Let's see. Am I going to do it 62.50 divided by 360 times 100. That is a little over 17%. So this one doesn't work out to exactly 15%, but you kind of get the idea. And I thought I could maybe get $450 for it, but let's just see. I've got $360. Let's go back to the calculator and say $360 times 1, which is the 360.17%, and that equals 421. And like I say, I round up, so I'm going to round up to 450. Even if let's say I used my original figure, which I always use 15%. Let's say I spent, or I did $360 because that's my cost of the item, and 8 hours worth of work times 1, which is my 360.15, is $414, and I would still round up to $450. So you can see how you can price that. So yep, thanks for watching this week's video. I hope that wasn't too convoluted and uninteresting, and I hope I could share something kind of fun with you. Let me know in the comments and give me your thoughts. It's okay if you didn't like it. Let me know. Do you think it's useful? Do you not think it's useful? It's pretty simple. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the equation here, and I'll put it in the video. So hopefully it will be very simple. And I don't know, I keep my books in Excel, and I just create my own spreadsheets because I know what I need and I know what I like. And yeah, so I don't know how you do it, but yeah, let me know. Also, if you are interested in exactly my fee, I'm not like ashamed to say what my fees are, but they may not be helpful to you. In my opinion, depending on where you are in the country or where you are in the world watching this, it's always going to be different. What's normal for me would be abnormal for you. So that's up to you. It doesn't matter how much I make per hour. It doesn't really help you that much. And I've had a business for quite a few years, so I'm pretty solid in what I charge. And if I was back in New England, my prices would be different. But I am in Pennsylvania, so the lifestyle here is slower. The money is less, and the cost of living is a little bit less, which is why I live here. Not in everything. Our gas is super high. I don't know why, but they charge the poorest people the most amount of money for gas and probably groceries. I don't really know. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much if you got this far. I appreciate you watching the video. And again, leave me your thoughts. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I wish you all good and beautiful things. Take care. Really? people when they see them. I think they're looking for food. Look at that. Literally